Please, if you don't mind. Paul LeClaire.
Thank you, Joe.
Go ahead.
You know I'm not going to say anything that's relevant to passing anything that you want. Anyway,
Paul, I respect you. It's America. It's a country.
let me say this. There are 2 points of why the economy is so bad. Okay, one is automation has dissolved a lot of well-paying jobs. And number 2, outsourcing of a lot of our factories and manufacturing has also impacted job creation. Okay. Now, I'd also like to say that there are 3 things that make the economy go. 1 is the product, 2 is payroll, 3 is services. You cannot have one without the other 2. And if you increase one, you're going to increase the other 2. I don't believe in my 74 years I've ever seen an increase not carry over from one to the other 2. Okay? If you raise the price of a product, people are going to have to pay more. People that own companies are not going to take away profits in order to give more money to the workers. Because if they do that, why are they in business? Businesses are in businesses to make profit. And profit is the bottom line today. It's the same thing in anything you want to talk about. The school system, government, everybody wants a piece of the pie. But unfortunately today, the pie is growing smaller and smaller. And if China, their economy and their yen takes over the American dollar, we're all going to be in trouble.
Okay, Paul, thank you. That wasn't a question, I don't think, but if there are questions, if you could come forward. Valerie, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm Valerie Carter, and I'm here, I guess, to ask a question about the significance of an impact of low-wage workers for certain populations. I mean, not only for the low-wage workers themselves and their families, and by the way, there's been a remarkable series of articles that have come out in the Bangor Daily News over the past year or so on people and families who are struggling to get by, and it's a great series. And Sandy Butler is one of the people who has contributed to that. I'm not sure if she's here or not. And, she's in the School of Social Work at the University of Maine. But one of the categories of workers I'm especially interested in and concerned about are people who work in as personal care aides or as nursing assistants. I happened to send out an email last night to someone in which I happened to paste in a recent article, a table from a recent article from the Portland Prince Herald that looked at the occupations with the most projected job openings in Maine. They're almost all low wage. The top 5 were food prep, personal care aides, cashiers, retail clerks, and nursing assistants. And I'm sure you're all familiar with that, especially Todd here. My concern is especially with the aging population in Maine that people who are really vulnerable need to have good people helping to care for them. I also have an adult son with autism who lives in a small group home, and my mom in Minnesota is living in a memory care unit. And with both those cases, it raises very strong concerns about the quality of care that people get who are the most vulnerable when you have low-paid workers, which leads to high turnover. So I guess I'm asking if anyone has any thoughts about what we can do to address that.
Thank you. Any member of the panel wish to address that?
I'm actually going to address your question with your comment. I do agree that we have lost jobs in certain sectors, but there are 3 sectors where jobs are increasing: technology, healthcare, and in hospitality. Our economy today, if you look at the last 36, 48 months, those are three significant sectors. I'm going to disagree with you with respect to that as a CEO, as a chairman of two organizations, one that has 3,000 employees and one that has 500, and then my small business in Algonquin. There is not one employee who makes less than $10 an hour. And in the restaurant business, I'm very, very proud, we could come at it and provide lower wages, but we do not. The only workers in the restaurant business that are making less than $10 an hour are those who are tipped out. And I can assure you that they're making more than $10 an hour. So it's not always about the bottom line. You have to watch the bottom line, but I look at productivity. I look at the ability to have a culture in that workforce that's going to have collaboration and it's going to have significant amount of presenteeism. The last fact, and it goes to Governor Baldacci's point, is that I think as we see the economy changing, we're going to have to shift the education. I think it goes back to your question there, is that we know that hospitality and healthcare workers and technology is increasing. We should shift our education of young people in those areas. I sit on the board of Boston University School of Public Health, and I've had this argument with them for many, many years, is that we are generating, for example, scores of lawyers who are graduating. Yet it has been proven that 25% of those graduates will not find jobs. They will have spent a fortune on their education. And I think it is immoral for universities to be promoting, if you will, that profession when you know you're not going to be able to educate them. So we're going to have to shift our educational focus to make sure that the young folks who are graduating from high school are entering into universities and colleges that will train them for the professions that we know are in fact increasing.
Come forward. Thank you very much. Just state your name.
Hi, my name is Annie, and I have a question. I've been making notes, but they don't end up being hieroglyphics. Is there any possibility of me having a copy of the information? Because I like to read it.
Yes.
Look at it over.
Yes, and I after we get done here in about 15 or so minutes, I'd be happy to talk with people, but also I have plenty of information to share with people. I think members of the panel will be happy to talk to people as well in smaller groups. But thank you, Ann.
You're welcome. Also, I do work on the Alzheimer's unit of the Maine Veterans Home.
We appreciate your service.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I think as Valerie had said, that it's important for our society to value those professions.
Yes, that's
And
true.
that's part of what the focus needs to be. No way. Thank you, Ann. Come forward.
My name is Cliff Guthrie. I live right here in Bangor. I had a couple of questions about the proposal.
Sure.
First of all, are you envisioning that the increases would be indexed to the federal wage level at all?
Yes. At the end, it would be 3.10. It would be 75 cents. To be honest, I've made a modest proposal compared to a lot of proposals, but it certainly would be higher. It would be 10% increase per year for 3 years, and then indexed to inflation at the end.
Indexed to inflation, not the federal.
The CPI.
Not the federal minimum wage. Then it would be
Indexed to inflation. This is the federal CPI, cost of living index.
Well, that sort of feeds into the second question, and maybe this is something that Todd, you can address. What is the effect when a municipality decides to raise wages relative to the other municipalities of the state that it's in? I know there have been some examples in Seattle and Oakland and San Francisco, cities that in fact are quite different than ours, economically speaking. There's a lot more money in those places. What do you expect the impact of a relative change for a local municipality like Bangor in a state that might not echo that change, or in actually regionally too? Would be interesting.
If you want to address that, I will have some comments after you're done.
I mean, that's a tough question to give a quick answer to. As I mentioned, depending on whether you're talking 825.9 or 975, you would have a different percentage of workers that would be impacted. When you get up to the highest proposed, the 975, you're covering a larger percentage of the workforce. So I guess one impact would be the people that make less than that would be raised to that amount. So that would be one impact. Studies have shown that an increase in the minimum wage can contribute to some unemployment. So some people in those positions would see their wages go up to the new minimum wage. Some people in those positions would lose their jobs. So those would be things that you would have to trade off. I don't know if you're asking the question, would businesses that employ those workers move outside the area? I don't know if that was one of the things that you had in mind. I think one thing to keep in mind with some of your retailers and some of your service providers that have a higher percentage of low-wage workers, their labor costs are just one of the things that they consider when they choose where to locate. Think of the mall area. A large percentage of the retailers in the whole Bangor area choose to locate around the mall, even though they're paying much higher rents around the mall than they would pay if they were to choose to locate somewhere else. But there's a very strong pull. You want to locate around the mall because that's where your customers are. So it's, I don't know if you're asking, I don't think you would have a huge mass exodus of those types of retailers to move out because, again, there's a great pull. I can't remember, I think it was one of your comments that the Bangor economic summary area is the top retail market in the state. Bangor's dominance in retail sales has grown over the last 20 years. So it used to be that retail was more spread around the region. It's actually becoming a lot more concentrated in the Bangor area. So it's hard to say if retailers would say, all right, we've got to pay a little bit higher wages, now we're going to move out. But again, there's such a strong attraction to wanting to be located near the mall area that unless an equal size attraction of a mall would open up outside the area, and those are very, very large investments. But it's hard to give a simple answer what would happen. Again, you'd see wages for some go up, you'd see unemployment go up for some, and there might be some businesses that would choose to move, but again, a lot of those businesses like where they're at, and they're already paying higher rent. If they wanted to have lower costs, they could move somewhere where they could get cheaper land, but they already choose to locate to operate near the mall because that's where their customers are.